Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham, and coming up on today's show, we'll talk about the latest trends with the Mavericks, including barely surviving against probably the worst team in the NBA in the San Antonio Spurs in a game they honestly probably should have lost. I mean, they were down in the fourth quarter, but they found a way to get it done. Some guys did step up. When you have five players that give you 20 or more, you shouldn't even have to go to overtime, but that's what took place last night. Reggie Bullock had 20 points, 6 of 10 from 3. Dwight Powell, perfect 8 of 8 from the field, 22 points. Josh Green, 21 points. He was 9 for 18 from the field. Jaden Hardy had 22 points. He needs to get more playing time. Christian Wood, welcome back to elite stat lines, 28 points, 13 rebounds. Maybe Jason Kidd will actually play him a little bit more consistently. Now, where the Mavericks sit in the Western Conference right now, they're right in the mud with, kind of the mixture there between 6 and 10. They play the Lakers very soon, so we'll keep an eye on that. But time is now. I mean, they're fighting to hang in here, but, I mean, they're lucky the West is down this year. Like 35 and 35 in most years, you'd be right on the edge of being in that 10 seed probably in the play-in. But they're fighting. They're trying to stay in the hunt without Luka and Kyrie, as they've both been sidelined for a few games here. Obviously, they got to start playing better very, very soon, and they need Luka and Kyrie back very soon. And apparently Kyrie's foot is not great, so who knows how long he is going to be out for the foreseeable future. The injuries, like I said, do not help, but no excuse. It's not like this team was railing off wins when they were out there. So 35 and 35, 12 games to go. I mean, you probably got to win 7 to secure a top 8 seed and have 2 cracks in the play-in tournament of making the tournament. Where will the Mavs end up in the standings? Type 1 for playoffs, 2 for play-in, 3 for lottery. I'll type my 2. I don't think they miss it altogether, but I'd be surprised at this point with the way they've been playing if they get a top 6 seed. I'll type 2 for play-in. Take a guess down in the comments below. An alarming trend is the Mavs do seem to play harder when Luka is out of the lineup, and in some ways that makes sense. Is okay, like guys obviously have to step up when Luka isn't out there, but I do think when Luka comes back for this final push here, he needs to dial it in a little bit more. And look, he's a top 5 player in the NBA. This is not me going after Luka Doncic, but if you want to be that guy, you got to be the hardest working player just about every single night. Stop complaining when you think you got fouled. Get back on defense. It takes a toll, man. It takes a toll on your teammates. It takes a toll on the fan base. It gets tiring. He's still got some maturation to do in that regard, and I think he will. He's still very young, but he's got to be the alpha male of this basketball team. There's just no way around it. Kyrie Irving, can he step up and hold Luka accountable? Does he have that respect yet in this locker room? Maybe, maybe not. No one else has the status to do that. It doesn't seem like Jason Kidd's going to call him out on it. So, someone is going to have to make something happen here. I will say this, with all of this conversation, with all the struggles, with everything going on, if Luka and Kyrie are back and healthy and they get into the playoffs, anything can happen because the West is wide open, and that's 2 top 20 players in the NBA, including a top 5 player in Luka Doncic. So, we'll see. A couple weeks here, 3-4 weeks until the playoffs, and hopefully the Mavericks are a part of that. Does Luka need to play harder? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think the answer is yes. I think superstars should be held to the highest standard, and I think Luka does get held to a high standard, but I think sometimes it could be higher. Y for yes, N for no. Does Luka need to play harder? Let's talk about Christian Wood as the Christian Wood dilemma continues. Again, great game last night, 28 and 13, and he gives you that offense that you need, but at what cost? I mean, you look at the plus minuses. He's been more of a negative than a positive as of late. He had 28 points last night, and he was a +5 there, so that's good. But the game before, on the right side of your screen, he was a -7 in 15 minutes, -4 in 26 minutes, +1 the game before, -1, -21 a few games ago, -16. Last night was definitely his best game in a while. It's against the Spurs, so can you carry that over? It's hard to say. But the Mavs need him to be a heavy contributor if they're going to do anything in the postseason. Like, it's not just going to be Luka and Kyrie. Someone else has got to find some consistency. We know Tim Hardaway's not consistent. We know Reggie Bullock's not consistent. Christian Wood's the best chance to be that third guy for this team right now. Look, the trade was a no-risk deal. You got rid of a bunch of guys that weren't going to help you at all. But the Mavs in general probably have not gotten what they wanted. Now, I do think at times Jason Kidd has not handled Wood correctly, just with what he said in press conferences, with his rotations. I think that's been a big challenge for J. Kidd this year, is he just has not seemingly figured out the rotations, and that's something a head coach has got to be able to do. He's got to be able to identify which players need to play at what times, and it seems like he has really struggled doing that this year, which kind of brings into question some of his failures in Milwaukee and Brooklyn. So 12 games to go again. Like, Kidd's got to figure it out. Wood's got to figure it out. The time is now. I mean, there's no room for error at this point. Are you disappointed in Christian Wood, or are you happy with what he's given you? Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. Type D for disappointed, H for happy. You could type M for somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't say it's been a flat-out disappointment. He still had a decent season here. Like, he's by far your best offensive big, but you probably wanted a little bit more. So D for disappointed, or H for happy. Now, some notes on impending free agency. This is interesting. The Lakers are not expected to pursue Kyrie Irving this offseason, per Jovan Buha, who covers the Lakers. LA has very strong interest in re-signing D'Angelo Russell, which makes sense on one hand, doesn't on another. It makes sense on one hand because they just traded for D'Lo before the NBA trade deadline. On the other hand, you would think LeBron James would want the Lakers to pursue Kyrie Irving. I do think that Kyrie is most likely move is re-signing with the Mavericks. So, you know, regardless of how we feel about that, if you're going to trade for him, you might as well try to keep him, right? Like, unless it's just one of those absolute disaster situations like the Rajon Rondo deal was, you want to keep Kyrie in the fold. And I think when he's played pretty well. So I think that makes sense. And if the Lakers aren't in on the sweepstakes, then there probably won't be a ton of other teams that are. So Dallas may not have a ton of stiff competition for Kyrie Irving, which maybe reduces it from being in a max contract. Who knows? So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on the next few weeks. I think the way the rest of this year goes could dictate a lot of that. When does Kyrie come back from this foot injury? How do him and Luka play together, especially if they make the playoffs? I think all those things will play a factor, but I still think at this point in time, Kyrie being a Maverick beyond this year is the most likely scenario. So will Kyrie stay or will he go? Type S for stay or G for go. Let me know in the comments section below. Will Kyrie stay or go after this season? That's going to do it for today's episode of Mavericks Today. We'll be back soon with another video, so subscribe to the channel. And so long, go Mavs.